various courses, and up on the screen, just before she puts hers, I had this list here, just if you want to join, on urbanleaders.org, MA, and it's the MA structure.htm. So you can get to it from number 2 here, the MA structure course outlines. We have the courses from each school up there, and I ask you to send me the courses each year as you update the syllabi. So your professors don't have to work in the dark to create new syllabi. And they should look each year at the parallel syllabi of partner schools. For example, at ATS, 5 years ago, one of the courses, Movement Leadership, got reduced down to Social Movement Leadership. But actually, it's not about social movement, it's about church growth. The social movement is one of the elements within that course. If whoever's presenting that course is looking at the other courses in other schools, they begin to pick up, oh, I need to expand this course back to the full range. So you've got comparisons there between schools. A lot of creativity. Some of these course designs are done by real experts who are brilliant. And so you don't need to be struggling with course design across the schools. And I think this can be used to upgrade the quality of delivery from your schools. We, as a commission, we cannot mandate what the schools do. We can simply serve with ideas, with encouragement for each school to continue to develop. Okay? So that's there as a resource. So Shona's is course number 555, Educational Centered Development. 555, I think, top 555 for most of us. Educational Centered Development. You will find that she focuses on preschool education mainly. We've moved with the APU course into vocational training much more, and I'd suggest in India that becomes very significant. So there's some variation within this course as well.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, children. I'm supposed to talk about early childhood education, so I'm giving everybody an opportunity to become children.
Yeah. We must have.
Okay, Ate Cory is supposed to talk about early childhood program, but my boss is there, very busy chatting. She's supposed to be here, but you know, I'm very obedient staff, so I have to talk.
Always good about you. There you are. Okay.
Great, so how would I start?
Your name.
Okay. So, of course, I am from Mission Ministries Philippines, as introduced by Dr. Grieve, and one of the first original teachers of this school, way back many, many years ago. Give me a favor, don't compute my age. Okay, so let me start by sharing with you the vision of Mission Ministries Philippines. It's there. We would like to see all preschool children in vulnerable communities to have access to quality education. We do have partners who are handling middle-class kids, but our main passion, our main calling is really the intelligent kids. So our mission is we equip organizations. When I say organizations, I'm not only talking about churches. We have community-based partners, we have individuals. As long as you have the passion to cater to children, we would love to partner with you. So our mission is we equip them so that they could set up their own early childhood program that would follow Luke chapter 2, verse 52, quality education for children. Okay, so how do we do it? each year, MMP is asked by organizations like churches to either set up their own early childhood program or enhance an existing program. When I say early childhood program, I'm not only talking about preschool program. Sometimes it's a daycare program, sometimes it's a supervised neighborhood play program, stimulation center, tutorial center, anything about children. Just like any other endeavor, I would like to share with you this morning practical steps undergone by our partners who are able to set up their own program. Okay, so just like any other endeavor, they need to start with a need assessment. Okay, MMP needs to be assured that our prospective partners are really addressing a certain need in their target community. So we provide our prospective partners a simple tool so that more or less they can determine whether there's really a need for an early childhood program. Because you see here in the Philippines, sometimes it's a joy for them to have preschool, but in reality, there's really no need about that. So we give them a simple survey. We wanted these prospective partners to know how many children are existing in their target community. They might have the calling, like they might have the passion to set up schools, but the problem is there's no children in the community. Or even if there are kids, most of these kids are already enrolled. So we encourage them to look for another community. So we would also ask them to determine what are the ages of children, because that would give them an idea on the kind of program they would like to set up. Like if most of the kids are 2 years old, perhaps they can just set up a supervised neighborhood play. If 5 years old, a typical preschool, or if the community just wanted to have a feeding program, just a simple daycare. So we would also ask our partner to assess the economic stability of the community. Like in 1984, MMP started in 1984, I came in 1986. That time, the mission is really so excited in really catering among the poor. So when we started our first preschool in 1986, and I'm one of the first preschool teachers, the other one is already with the Lord. We are so excited, we practically provided everything for free. We provide the teacher salary for free, school supplies, everything is for free. And I think we learned our first lesson in doing community development. Sustainability will be a problem if you provide everything under dole-out principle. So the partners would not appreciate our curriculum. We have invested so much dollars just to come up with our curriculum. And because the partners would not shell out any single amount, they would not value it. And that also applies with the parents. We realize here in the Philippines, if you provide the education of children for free, they will not value it. They would see your program as an ordinary preschool. Even if the children don't want to go to school, they don't mind, because anyway, they have not invested anything. So, in short, why am I saying this? That first school failed because it's built out. Since then, we learned our lesson. So we would want our prospective partners to know the economic stability of the communities, specifically the parents, so that we could charge the children. So we provide socialized fee. Okay? If the partners is rich, we would encourage them to bless us. But if we are rich, then our prospective partners, we would bless them. I don't know whether that's clear. Is that clear, children?
Yes.
Good. Okay. So that's it. Okay. So after that, of course, we're convinced that there's already a need for an early childhood program. We would ask our prospective partner to share the result of that survey to the church, if it is a church-based, because we do not want a preschool that would only run by one man or woman show. We wanted the church to value it. So the board member would also have the burden to do that. If it is a community-based, we would provide the result of the survey to our local government unit, which is the barangay, for information and intervention. Okay, so that's the first one. MMP needs to be convinced that you are addressing a certain need in your target community. Number two, they have to decide what kind of program they would like to set up for children and seek legal identity. So these are some of the options. Preschool is only one of the options our partners can choose. If they would like to set up a real school, of course they go to the government, who is really has the mandate to set up school, the Department of Education and Culture. Here in the Philippines, preschools can also be run as a business, so they go to DTI and then get there. And if it is really for the poor, and most of our partners are under this category, they set up daycare center, center-based infant care or child minding center, supervised neighborhood play, family daycare center. Now, most of our partners are church-based. And since most of our partners would like to set up real schools, but the problem is that our government would give different requirements that is not really possible for indigent communities. Like if you would like to set up school here in the Philippines, you should have 500 to 1,000 square meters. And most of our partners, they have a very small lot. So this is what the Lord has been doing to us. We're so blessed because the Department of Education and Culture and the DSWD, the main government institutions who have the right to legalize schools, they provided us a special permit that we are allowed to set up schools for indigent children as part of our apostolic mission. So most of our partners who would not have the 300 square meters lot requirement, they're still able to set up their school under our banner. So we give them certification that they are under us, so while preparing for their real permit, they can still run the school. But over the years, by the grace of God, they are able to came up with their legal permit. Okay. Another is we encourage our partner to be familiarized with the laws that mandate or govern their ECA program. Our government is very friendly when it comes to early childhood education. Like we have Child 21, this is a strategic framework that would guide all stakeholders in developing program that would guide them in planning and developing program that will protect the rights of children in the 21st century. We have ECCDRA, blah, blah, I mean, don't really need this. Okay, so after knowing that, of course, this is very important. They need to really be passionate when it comes to early childhood education. Perhaps you are asking now, why St. Mission Ministries engaged with this kind of program? First, just like a jubilee, we acknowledge that children are very precious in the sight of God, right? God Himself invited children to come to Him. Of course, the importance of formative years in the lives of children. Their heart is the most receptive ground where you could introduce any form of developmental learning. They're even receptive to the Word of God. And I think that is the very premise of the 414 windows. According to research 85% of Christians came to know the Lord within that age bracket. Is that true? Anybody here who came to know the Lord within that age bracket? Can I see hands, children? Okay, very good. That will be true. So, and of course, as psychologist, I learned from my course that 90% of the brain development occurs during preschool age. So if you would like to raise gifted kids, we have to start as early as the mother's womb. And of course, this is really very important. Just to give you a short trivia about myself, I came to know the Lord in 1983. Since then, I only have one passion. I would love to become a pastor. I would love to have a pulpit and do something like this. Okay, when I came to know the Lord. Unfortunately, I came to know the Lord in a denomination where ladies are not allowed to preach. So I didn't pursue the passion. So I landed as one of our mission's first preschool teachers. But I realized that in a way the Lord granted my heart's desire. Yeah. You know, when I became a teacher, I just realized, oh my God, I have the opportunity to share the gospel not only to the children, but to their parents as well. As the saying goes, save a man, you save a unit. Save a child, you have a multiplication table. Here in the Philippines, especially in the schools we're setting up, usually a typical class would have 20 kids. And if you have 20 kids, each child would represent at least 5 family members. Of course, in the US, dogs are included, not here in the Philippines. So you have the mommy, the daddy, the brother, the baby, and the sister. So if you have 20 kids, you multiply that into 5, you automatically have 100 captive audience for God. I mean, that is really a blessing. I still remember Foursquare denomination before they're planning to set up churches in every barangay. When they met at Icori, they changed their mind. Instead of setting up churches, they started to set up schools. Because if you have schools, you have potential for church planting. Okay, so this is the blessing behind that. You have the opportunity to share the gospel. And of course, my role has been evolving. Now I have the chance to also train teachers and sometimes even pastors. But I think the thing that really inspired me the most is every time I have opportunity to train parents. I can easily share the gospel. In my experience, most of the parents would accept God in their heart with tears on their eyes. Because, poor parents would really love to know God. The community, or to be specific, the parents are best attracted to the gospel if God's love is extended to their children. That is my experience. Of course, research shows that children who receive quality education are better learners because they are more prepared to face the challenge of grade 1 curriculum. This would explain why we have now the K+12 curriculum. Kindergarten is now part of our formal education, primarily because the government realized the importance of really preparing the children before they go to grade 1. Okay? According to studies, for every dollar invested in early childhood education, it would yield $17 down the road, because good education would mean less expenses of our government for remedial education. And of course, our economy is dependent with our workforce, and lo and behold, children are our future workforce, and they're also the future taxpayers. Okay? So after that, step 5, they have to come up with a philosophy of early childhood education. This is really very important. Why? Because we acknowledge that preschool is the first exposure of the child outside the home. Am I right, children? You know, I'm insecure if you're just looking on your laptop and you're not listening to me. Okay, so here in the Philippines, of course, all over the world, preschool is their first exposure outside the home. This is their first taste of school. So, and according to studies, the first experience of the child in his first preschool would either facilitate or destroy his future desire to go to school. And that is really very important. So we wanted our first learners to feel that learning is enjoyable, not endurable. Okay? And so we want them to adopt a developmentally appropriate philosophy where children learn through play, because play is the principal business of children. And according to this philosophy, we acknowledge that each child is unique. Children go to us with a variety of needs. They have different learning style. Some are auditory, some are visual, some are kinesthetic. They have different learning pace. So that uniqueness should be considered in any program for early childhood education. Each children are gifted. Here in the Philippines, gone are the days where children are not allowed to talk. Okay? So if you give a certain information to the child, the natural tendency of today's children is to ask questions. So we want them to become part of the total learning process. Okay? And gifted, traditional education would always define intelligence as the ability of the child to master the 3 R's of learning. Children, what are those 3 R's?
Reading,
Very good. Okay. Here in this philosophy, in a way we are endorsing the theory of Howard Gardner in his multiple intelligence theory, when he said that all children are intelligent but in different ways. Some are logic smart, they're fascinated with numbers, with computers. Some are number smart, some are body smart, like Manny Pacquiao. They have computer inside their brain that directs their body into body movements. Some are naturally inclined. I mean, we recognize the giftedness of children and we design curriculum that would best address that. Of course, I mentioned that children are active, and we would like to address not only the intellectual needs of children, but even their emotional, social, and even spiritual needs. We would like to raise a balanced child. Okay, so step 6. We would always consider them to consider us as one of their partners in developing programs for children. Of course, that is Ate Cory, our boss, together with her husband, Dr. Dibor. We only have 4 full-time staffs. The rest of the ladies are supervisors, on-call supervisors. So again, we partner with People's organization, community-based group, even individuals, as long as you have the passion to cater to the needs of our indigent kids. Now, what are our programs and services? Of course, it's either we assist our partners to set up their own school or we enhance their existing programs. Here in the Philippines, a lot of schools are existing without the benefit of a very good curriculum. They simply follow the books, and that is not really good for children. So we still partner with them so that we could give them a technology. Again, we have, if you have kids, you have parents. We acknowledge that we could best achieve our purpose for children if we would have a partnership between the parents and between the schools. And we have a tool where we assess the needs of the parents, and after that we develop programs for them. But of course, we have a very silent agenda. We are very intentional in sharing the gospel creatively to these parents. Trainings are not enough. We do classroom visitation and coaching. We assess the ability of our teachers, then we decide whether we will visit the teacher quarterly, every 2 months, or sometimes we do geographical coaching. Okay, most of our teachers are not graduate of education. Okay, so we give them rigid seminars. We're just done with the April 16 and 18 for our level 1 seminar. This is a seminar designed for teachers. We're done with the level 2. This is a seminar designed for administrators. We're doing our seminars in ATS. Okay? And this is our level 3 seminar. Dr. Edmondson will be our main facilitators. That will be on May 18. And we have isolated refresher courses. As early as February 20, we're already done with our schedules for teachers. Like for this week, effective today, we have our practical trainings in ATS. We also have trainings exclusively for our partners where we practically teach them how to use the curriculum that we provided. We also train administrators. Of course, I mentioned a while ago, we intentionally train parents. And our ECE 1 and 2, it earns 3 credit unit through Educational Center Development. This is the tool 555. Okay? Before, I used to teach this course alone, but they decided to integrate that in our regular program. So if our teachers would attend our 1 and 2 plus additional requirements, they can earn the credit. And there's also one university here in the Philippines, Kalayaan College. You just have to present our certificate and they can be accommodated in their ladderized program in early childhood education. We also have a special early childhood education module, again in partnership with ATS. Under their continuing studies, we offer training certificate in early childhood education. This is only every Saturday, and the participants could either choose the teacher's track or the admin track. And those are the schedules. Okay, we also have OJT. We have several laboratory schools. Most of our partners are encouraged to do observation in their nearby school, in MMP nearby school. We provide the following. In partnership with one of the best universities here in the Philippines, we're able to develop our own curriculum. University of the Philippines would call it integrated core curriculum. But in our context, we call it biblical integrated core curriculum. We integrated biblical concepts in the curriculum of our children. We also have teacher's manual, flashcards, ECE instructional kit, practically all the forms that will be needed by our prospective partners we already provide. The assessment form, card, etc., etc. CD, compilation, songs, poems, and rhyme. Story stretchers, we are adopting the literature-based approach. Every time we share stories to the kids, it could be stretched so that we could integrate all the learning content. We have program manual. This is a Bible for administrators. What's the role of a board member, administrators, principals, etc. Our best blessing is really our books. By the grace of God, we are able to develop a very good book, especially in reading, where most of our kids can read just for a period of 1 month. Do you believe that? Just for a period of 1 month. Because we're following what the experts are telling us, that if you would like to introduce reading fast to your children, you have to teach reading using their mother tongue. Anybody here who would like to learn Filipino? Yes, this is how we do it. We share first the story of Moses, and after that, we teach our children the sound of letter M. Okay, children, can you produce the sound of letter M? Okay, very good. Can we raise our right hand? Very good, children. Everybody, I want us to write letter M on the air. While writing letter M together, I want us to produce the letter M sound. The sound of letter M. Are we ready? Are you ready, children? Go, let's do it. Okay, this time I want you to write baby at the back of your classmate. Can you do that? Okay, grab the back of your classmate and together let's write baby Are you ready? Write it at the back of your classmate. Ready, go. You're very good, children. And after that, we would share the story of Moses. Because it's literature-based, we would share the story of Moses. And then part of the story is something like this. May I know our pastors here? Okay, forgive us, we might have destroyed the hermeneutics principle. But in our story, we would tell the children, you know, Moses ate mango, mangosteen, any fruits that begin with sound. Okay, so they could really understand the sound of letter M. And so the next letter would be letter S. So the children would experience the same story. Samuel went to the supermarket, but of course it's Tagalog, it should be mother tongue. And the next letter is A, Abraham. Abraham went to Antipolo, blah, blah, like that. Now, in our language here in the Philippines, if you mix MSA, you can repeat letters in any order. Those are some of the words that the children can now read. Okay, so mama means mother, masa, crowd, sama, asa, asma, etc., etc. So we will just teach them sight words. They can now read phrases. And after that, they can eventually read sentences. So that's the beauty of the materials. And so the children would go, Mommy, I can now read. But of course, they can only read the first 3 letters. But of course, the psychological impact of that is unquestionable. Okay, that's how we do it. This is also another book. When we are developing our books, we would like to have a unique feature. Because there are a lot of publication companies here in the Philippines. So when we develop our science, we wanted our children to love their environment so that your land will not happen again. So in our science curriculum, we integrated Save the Earth activities. We have the civic and culture where we integrated the rights of the child. The mathematics made easy is thematic, and of course reading made easy. Normally we assess our children. If our children can read Tagalog sentences, and if we ask them questions and they can answer it immediately, we could introduce the second language, which is English. So we have reading made easy. And of course, this is our book for parents. In this book, we could find different exams where the parents would discover their learning style as the parents, their style as democratic, etc., autocratic parents. Okay, so we also have support services. We have guidance program for kids and adults. Sometimes we receive a lot of donations, so we have small library in our office. If you are a partner, we would have discounted books in our books. And networking, we don't want to invent wheels anymore. Ate Cory is a very good networker. We specialize only in early childhood education, but we understand our partners would have other needs other than the EXI program. So we would just link them. Like if some of our partners would love to have micro-enterprise, the SPI, a micro-enterprise program in the Philippines, is one of our partners, so we just link it to them. If they need a program about health, Scandinavian is also one of our partners, we just link it to them. So, yeah, Ate Cory is very good in networking. Just to give you an update, we have set up more than 700 preschools in partnership with churches. We are humbled, but this is really conservative. You know why? Because in our experience, the power of planting seed, okay? We usually partner with one church. After several years, this church would catch our vision, and the church would extend their program to several church branches. Okay? And we also have partners, they started with preschool, now they have elementary, now they have high school. I mean, King Solomon is a very good model, really. So we have more than 700. Okay, we have trained more than 6,000 teachers and administrators. Over 100 kids are exposed to the gospel because of our biblical integrated core curriculum. 189,000 parents are exposed to the gospel, and this is our challenge. Only 23% of the 13 million children are provided with early childhood education. There's really a huge needs in this program. So if you feel you have a burden to work with children, we would love to partner with you. Okay? So at this point, I want us to watch a video. Okay? This is about 414 window, so that all the more we will be challenged
Do we have
to
sound
cater
plugged
with children.
Do we have sound plugged into that? Do we have sound plugged into that?
Do we have sound here?
Or do you have any question while the video is being prepared? Can somebody help me to do this? Okay, do you have any question? Ate Cory, would you like to facilitate this for 14 minutes?
How many of you have heard of 414 window? It's a global advocacy to reach out to children between the ages of 4 to 14. Because based on research, globally, a lot of our Christians get converted at that age. So we are part of this global movement, and in October last year, we were invited to New York. June and Millet were there, and a few of our friends. And the vision is really to equip the global church to reach out to children between the ages of 4 to 14. So we'd like to show you a video, but while they're working on that, Chona, I knew her when she was 18. And we're still praying for a husband for her. She's very choosy. She wants a pastor. I said, Chona. So pray for her. She still wants to get married to a pastor. You can recommend any pastor to her.
It's like frustrated pastora.
So John is a matchmaker, but he hasn't found someone. So you met Stuart yesterday. Stu, actually Stu and another U.S. retired Army chaplain, John Linville. He and Stu were the original visionary behind this movement. So Stu's an educator, and when he retired as a chaplain in the U.S. Army, he came and became president of ATS. It was while he was president of ATS that he encouraged one of his students to help him set up this ministry, and then I came in 86. My field is social development, and I studied at ATS Church Studies. While I was a student in Ateneo in social development, I got exposed to the 4 generations of development intervention. First is, of course, welfare approach, relief, and that's appropriate when you do relief work. The second is community development. You empower communities to help solve their own problems. Third is sustainable development, where you see to it that whatever development work you do, it's sustainable. And the 4th generation is what is called social movement. And I got interested in this concept in the 80s. I said, let's try this in preschool. Instead of building a big organization, let's set up a social movement. And let us partner with churches in the slums, because that was a great need at the time. And so, of course, the first one that we did, as John never said, we learned a lot from that. That the first lesson learned, the preschool has to be owned by the church and community. It has to be church-based and community-centered. And we found out that there are people out there who have vision for children, and we wanted to find out who those were, we began to be more intentional in developing who our partner should be, because we wanted to invest in our partners. So one of the first partners we had was a pastor and a University of the Philippines professor, Rex Resurrection, who's also a professor in M2U. And just by investing for a few months in that school, they caught the vision. And now they also have a high school. Preschool, they became elementary, and then they became a high school. And it was wonderful because out of their experience in partnering with them, and they were teaching entrepreneurship in the university. So we said, why don't we make a curriculum so that we can share this entrepreneurship to all our networks. So now we have a curriculum for children, teaching them to become entrepreneurs. And that's how, we've learned how to network, create a social movement. And I think also the Holy Spirit is on it, because we decided to just have a small core of committed staff. We invested in their education. We put her into the University of the Philippines. We have another staff, we invested in her PhD, and then our secretary, we invested. So we felt that just creating a social movement, have a few core staff, and invest in their education, and mobilize our churches. So imagine what a 4 staff can do. How can we have over 700 preschools with a very lean and mean budget, renting a very affordable place at ATS because we were also part of faculty. We were very intentional in making it very lean and mean and affordable so that other mission groups can duplicate what we were doing. And so we did that with Foursquare. When one of their doctoral students, Jim Hayford, when he saw one of our preschools, he said, "We'd like to do this." So we trained their people to do what we were doing. So now there's a social movement of preschools. So that's the concept that we have, that we remain lean and mean and low budget, but high impact. And that's the concept of social movement. You cast the vision to as many people as we can, and then just invest in their training. And then encourage them to do what we're able to do. Okay? And of course, our good friend June and Millet, they're very visionary. They have a heart for God. And just a little investment, they're very creative in fundraising. I was just so amazed, Very good in fundraising. So, are you ready?
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Thank you.
Somos la esperanza de la iglesia.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jonah. It's a lot of information to try and integrate. So I think our point of integration is the relationship to the mantul and your mantul in your school. So they've got a whole movement that's going on. ATS has been able to tap into what they're doing. So do you have questions for Jonah or Coralie on what she's presented?
I do. That was a very articulate, cogent presentation. So I commend you for that. I was very intrigued at who writes your curriculum?
Our staff and our Christian professors from UP who have PhD and master's. So the doctoral graduates of Christian professors at UP. So we tap into the brains of our Christian professors.
Great.
So it's biblically based.
Yeah.
And it meets the requirements of government. But we put the Christian worldview.
Yeah, I also commend you. Fantastic. I wish more churches and countries would catch on. Maybe you have an international extension of this. Curious how you make entrepreneurs of little children.
Yes.
My boss will answer that.
We saw it in a community called Balara, where the professors are trained. The pastor was trained in Holland on how to teach people entrepreneurship. In fact, he's on the faculty of Mature Resurrection, and his wife trained in UP. So we were amazed one day. We visited the school, and the children were telling us, "This is how much money I have in the bank." A preschool kid has like 10,000 pesos. A grade 5 kid has like 20,000 pesos. And I was, what's happening here? How come these kids have all these savings? And so we started to investigate, and they were taught from preschool how to make money by, like they can make, they're trained, they have workshops on how to make toys. They sell it to the neighborhood. They are taught how to collect clothes, and they put price on it, and they sell it in the neighborhood. They are taught certain kids, the children, ages 3, 4, 5, 6.
Jeez.
So through the years, they have managed to have savings. And I said, wow, let's do this to all the preschools we have. So we contacted Angie, the teacher, and through the last few months, we came up with a curriculum. And our dream is that we would produce the next generation of entrepreneurs in the Philippines so that our teachers will not go to Hong Kong as domestic helpers. You know, I feel so sad sometimes. We have all these graduates and they go to Hong Kong as domestic helpers when they should have been trained how to create jobs. So that's the vision behind entrepreneurship. We want to produce the next generation of Filipinos who will create jobs for our people. And they should be started at early childhood. Yeah.
So you have sample curricula here?
We didn't bring it, but just in addition to that, we use the word kidpreneur. K-I, then preneur, where each letter would represent a certain virtue or value modeled by the top 10 entrepreneurs who started as children. Like for letter K, it stands knowledge. So we have Bill Gates, and the Bible counterpart is we have Solomon, something like that. I stands for imaginations. You have Walt Disney, and then we have Bible counterpart. So 10 famous entrepreneurs who started as a kid, both local and international.
So I think one of the things we learn about children is that they should be our partners in mission.
Absolutely.
And that's what we become in the 414 window. Imagine an 8-year-old boy preaching in the 414 window, and so we said, wow, you know, we should make use really of our children to be partners, not just objects to be taught to.
You're wonderful, wonderful. So I want that.
Yeah, I know.
Perhaps I could bring some sample books tomorrow.
Please.
The story of Bill Gates in local context.
The next curriculum we will make is missional. The whole concept of business as mission. So making children missionaries using business as mission paradigm.
So how does the M2U integrate with this?
Like our trainings are now the curriculum of the M2U program, the level 1 and 2. And most of the M2U students would go to our schools for their laboratory and OJT.
So ATS accredits the training during summer when we hold the training. The ATS M2U students who opt to take that course attend it, and ATS accredits it. It's like a subject of ATS.
How do you make that at the master's level? How do you make that at a master's level as against just a basic level? What's the difference?
For master level, they would have additional requirements.
No, wait, are you asking how do we make the... What's your
Masters?
So you say you've got a training, but these are master's students.
Master students.
Yeah, they have additional
requirements.
Apart from attending the 6-day training, they're given readings and they're given the assignment that will lead them to master requirements.
So just to extend what you're doing, which is internationally, there's a very interesting phenomenon that's occurring in the slum. Schools are springing up everywhere. Private schools like this. Government schools have expanded in the last 2-3 years because the World Bank decided that every poor person should go to school. So they put a lot of money into many countries to expand attendance in schools. Unfortunately, they didn't expand the number of teachers. So what happened was from the private schools, suddenly they could go to the public schools, so they did. Now they're shifting back to the private schools. Slum parents are quite smart. They know if they send their kids to a government school, there'll be 50 kids in the classroom. Teacher will show up some days, other days there's no teacher. There's no books or not enough books. The children will not get an education in the public school. Maybe in the Philippines better than most, but still it's not so good. So the teachers prefer to pay just a little bit. It's more than they can afford, but it's something they can afford, to have their kids in a private school